What's up guys, Duke here, and we're doing the patch notes review for patch 3.16, Fatal Awakening. As always, we're going through the skins and stuff real quick, we're going through the balance for a longer time, and this time we're going to put the new god at the end because it's a very interesting one, we have a long time to talk about that one, so we're just putting that towards the end for this particular patch notes. Let's look at the skins first. We got Griffin Dwarf Fafnir, and that's his card. The cool thing here is when he turns into a dragon, it's actually a griffin. So that skin overall is really cool, and it's in the season ticket.
Ah, another day, another triumph.
Then we have Oktoberfest Noir. I will not speak about this skin ever again. I hate it, but whatever. Here's the voice line.
Der Bierkeg ist dry und a new one must be tapped.
Kill me now. Then we have Bun Bun Nox, which is a reference to Western? Was it like Western something? I don't even know. I didn't really get that, but it's something.
Down here in the South, our ladies are belles, raised on sweet tea and warm summer nights.
I guess like Texan or something. Whatever. We got Deathcap Sylvanus, which is a tier 2 skin, and which is obviously a reference to drugs. So Sylvanus is officially the dankest god out there. And then we have Hooten Hollabacchus. I'm not quite sure why he doesn't have a voice pack button. I'm pretty sure he has a voice pack. Here we got the negative American stereotypes. Also not a fan of this one, but whatever. Achievements for Bastad, Kumbhakana, Chang'e. Final season ticket update. I don't know why there's not another chest, but I thought there would be more for the skins. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you get all the recalls beforehand. Anyways, Griffin Dwarf Fafnir, Adonis Announcer Pack, and a global mode prize money. Ranked gets a change. The 3-man queues in Conquest are completely removed. This is weird because, no, it's understandable as in this part, this particular thing, because it kind of ruined matchmaking. But then again, it wasn't the only thing that ruined matchmaking. Other things had an equally negative impact. Also, it's way too late because all those players that have climbed up with 3-man queue are up where they are already. And now those who try to climb up now don't have the same opportunity anymore, but have to fight against those who climbed up that way. You have the whole benefit that is a 3-man queue against bad matchmaking gone. So 3-man queue was just one way to prevent bad matchmaking from happening to you, because you had a lower chance of getting bad players on your team if you queued with 2 good players. So overall, it's an understandable step, but at the same time it's really, really weird because it's not a fix. It's definitely not the main thing that should have been fixed in that regard, and I feel like other changes should have been done first, and maybe this is something that should have been done with the next season, like with a complete reset, and not what this is. So, but whatever, hell, what are we gonna do about it? And then just some wording fixes and a fix where potions were still locked after level 10. That's now gone, and that's bringing us to the balance changes. Number 1 is Phantom. Phantom is getting a nerf and a buff. The cooldown is increased from 140 seconds to 180 seconds. This sounds bad at first, given how long, for example, an Odin Cage is on cooldown. However, this also affects all allies within a 35 units radius now. That's actually crazy good, because if you have, I think, 3 of them on your team, you should be able to pretty much avoid any kind of wall ever. And that includes not only Odin walls, but also Thor walls, Ymir walls, Cabrakan walls, and all that. So overall, I think this is still a buff, and in a coordinated team, it's pretty crazy. Yes, you're gonna use up some relic spots, but realistically, there's no reason to really pick Odin anymore with this cage, in my opinion, because the cage is just pretty useless if a team builds against it. Moving on to the other items that are not relics. Divine Ruin is getting a buff. Power increased from 50 to 65. This is a good change. This is a very good change because Divine Ruin was just not worth picking up, even though it had anti-heal, just because other items provide you with that much more power. The problem is it's still not a heavy-hitting item in comparison. It doesn't have pen or anything. It has that lifesteal on it, which kind of isn't something you really need on a mage all that much. It is gonna be picked up more. I don't think it's gonna be crazy in the regard. Like, imagine the lifesteal was penetration instead. All of a sudden, this item would be really good, and would like maybe even be picked up with against comps with less or no healing. But like, this is still more of a counter item, and the buff is justified. In the same sense, Magi's Blessing gets a justified buff, which is a price drop from 2,350 to 2,150. I think this is good, because the item was just not worth the price compared to stuff like Mantle of Discord or Spirit Robe. So, it's not bad. It's not bad. I still don't see it being picked up all too often, because it's too easy to burst the bubble, so to speak. And especially with new forms of CC, since Magi's Blessing's strongest phase, I don't think we'll see it all too much. Like, as long as Bellona Disarm can cleanse it, I don't know if I would pick it up all too often when there are other items around. But it's definitely better now with the price up. It's more justifiable to get it earlier on in the game, so it's something. Pythagorean's Peace gets a buff. Now, Pythagorean's Peace was not very popular before, and the only character that made relatively frequent use of it was Freya. Then Bancroft's Tailing got buffed, and Freya all of a sudden used that as well. And Pythagorean's Peace saw even less play. But now Pythagorean's Peace gets a price drop by 200 gold. It gets a 10 power decrease on the item itself, but a 10 power increase on the aura. So you have the same kind of power in the end. And your team gets more power. And the aura lifesteal is increased from 10% to 15%. I am pretty sure that this is gonna make it a higher priority pick on Freya again, compared to Bancroft's, which I personally never really liked too much, but it had a purpose for the trading on her, and now, well, Pythagorean's got a buff, so there's no reason not to pick it with the extra lifesteal and stuff, and a price drop on top of that. It's just really, really good. Spectral Armor. Spectral Armor is getting a price reduced by 200 because it was not, it was considered too expensive when built compared to items like Breastplate of Valor for cooldown reduction. However, I think the problem with Spectral Armor is just the awkward passive that it has now, that you really need to know how to make use of, because otherwise it's just really, I don't even know how to put it, but yes, you can do like a weird niche build with Genji's Guard or something, I don't know, but realistically, I don't think this price drop is going to change much, though the values may be decent for what it is. It just still feels kind of awkward. And then we have Witchblade. And Witchblade is actually getting a solid buff. Witchblade is getting a protections buff from 45 protections up to 60. And 60 protections is very interesting as such that this is close to Breastplate of Valor now. It's not quite there yet, but you still have that passive on top of it. And, well, you don't get the mana, but against certain solo lane matchups, this could be relatively good now, actually. You still get that nice passive and everything. And I feel that, especially against characters that need a lot of basic attacks to get their stuff done, like Bellona, Osiris, for example, maybe Raven, because he's got a decent amount of basic attack damage between his abilities as well, this is going to be really good. You're not going to pick this up if you want to play really aggressive early, most likely, but overall, I think this is pretty decent now. Alright, from that, moving on to the guard changes. Arachne, whatever, just the color fix for the spiders on the webs. That's fine. And Shen gets a nerf. Pin. Increased cooldown from 12 seconds to 16 seconds. A lot of people seem to think this is not that significant, according to my chat in Twitch. I feel like this is actually quite significant. It not only means that its clear is slower, because you can't use that twice on a wave, as you would sometimes be able to that often, because you have to have 4 seconds more for that to happen. You can't bully as well, because you don't have that pin that often. Even in jungle, you may not be able to use it for multiple camps in succession. And all in all, it turns down his early potential. Obviously, late game, he's that AA-based character, and you don't care about the pin all too much anymore, except for the lockdown. But early on, you need the pin to be effective. And with that being nerfed by such a significant time, I would say it's hitting him at least. And that's a good nerf overall. The nerf was needed, so it's completely justifiable. Then we have Fafnir. Fafnir gets another nerf. If you cry about this, then you have not seen Epsilon and you have not played ranked in the last month or so. This is completely justified simply because Fafnir has been overperforming to the point that a support became one of the first banned characters in ranked most of the time. So what's happening is his Endless Greed is nerfed from 4 extra gold to 2 extra gold. Disregard the seconds that they left here for some reason. There is another nerf in here that actually made it into the PTS, at least for now, that doesn't show up, which is the max protections he gets, like the extra protections, is nerfed from 30 to 20, and Careers gets a cooldown increase from 13 to 15 seconds. That's not crazy by any means. He's gonna need more farm now. He has to focus more on farming like every other character. The other support has to. Careers is kind of like the selling point of it is that you can use it, then you can ult, and then you can use it on your whole team again, and that hasn't changed. But while in Dragon form, you may not be able to use it like quite as often, depending on which stage of the Dragon form, which level of the Dragon form you're on. So, yeah, Fafnir is turned down a little bit, and that's completely justifiable. We're still gonna see him a lot, definitely, especially with the new skin. So nothing really changing there. Hou Yi, as they call him here, Hou Yi, is seeing a major nerf, and I don't know why he has to be nerfed so much. No, Hou Yi was a strong ADC. He was often picked. He was performing alright. He was performing good, but at the Epsilon, he actually didn't perform all too well statistically. And now he gets the nerf hammer. So, Ricochet gets a buff. You get some more base damage, like up to 5 on the first rank, up to 25 on the highest rank. And it gets 5% scaling. So that's some extra damage in that ability. It's not much, but a little bit. At the same time, the bonus damage per ricochet, is decreased by 10%. Which means that it's going down to 80% scaling instead of... Oh, no, damage actually. It's more than just scaling. So, yeah, it's a lot. It's actually... like, it's still going to be rewarding to hit a double bounce, obviously. Or a triple bounce even, but it's less luck-based, I would say. It's more like you hit that line ability and see if it bounces again and get some extra damage. I would have said like that as a nerf alone would have been a good change for one patch and then see where he stands after. Because it's a bit of a buff, but also a bit of a nerf. But then we get to Mark of the Golden Bow. What? Mark of the Golden Crow, I'm pretty sure that's called. But Mark of the Golden Bow, we go with that. The bonus penetration, the bonus 25 penetration this ability provided at level rank 5 is completely removed. None of it left. Let that sink in. That's huge. It reveals all marked targets at all ranks now, so it's more of a counter to Loki or Kwang. And the duration is decreased from 15 seconds to 10 seconds on the same cooldown, which I think is 18 seconds. So you nearly have like half the time now instead of just 3 seconds where the mark's not up. What does that mean? Hou Yi is one of those characters that has a decent mix of basic attacks and ability damage, right? He has decent damage in his one, he has strong damage in his ultimate, he has strong damage in his escape if he leaps in, goes on you that way. And that was his selling point. And part of this selling point is getting that extra penetration at rank 5, which means that your abilities are going to deal a lot more damage and your basics are going to deal a lot more damage, which allows you to build Titan's Bane. Because Titan's Bane is for ability-based hunters, Ola builds it a lot that way. And now, this doesn't work out anymore. Because you don't have that mark anymore. You don't have that extra penetration, which means you have to get either Titan's Bane or Executioner, and Executioner in this regard on ADC is a lot more effective. But if you build Executioner, then you're not going to have much ability damage anymore, and Hou Yi uses his abilities early in the fight to set everything up. At the same time, he doesn't bring the same burst as Ola would, so you cannot really rely on... What you have to do is you have to box someone first, hope that they are idiotic enough to do that, to trade you before you use your abilities, and then after hitting them 3 times with Executioner on, hit your abilities in order to play an effective Hou Yi. And I don't see that happening. I don't see that being a thing. So, you're either going to see a really weakened version of Hou Yi, or one that tries to make really hard plays with either trying to trade you down first and then use abilities, or trying to ricochet you and just blow you off the map. But both is kind of, well, not effective in comparison to stuff like Ram, who will just walk in your face, slow you for 2 seconds, and shoot you down. So I don't see too much Hou Yi being picked after this patch as soon as people figure out how much really happened to him. He's more of a situational counter pick now, but that's really all that he's got left, I feel. I may be wrong here, but for now, I'm writing Hou Yi off, and I'm not quite sure why he had to be hit that hard. I see how he was overperforming, but you could have taken the mark down to 10% penetration or 15%, and I think it would have been fine, and it would have not been as crazy. With this heavy-handed swing, which I really dislike in terms of nerfing in general, I might just wipe him off the map. Moving on to Kali, just getting a visual fix. Odin also just getting a visual fix. Sylvanos getting some buffs. He's getting some love, which is Verdant Growth, getting a huge base damage increase. The first rank being the same damage, but the highest rank having an extra 80 damage, so 1/3 more damage in total, which is a little crazy, right? To be fair, it's kinda justifiable, and there's a logic behind it. It is that there must be a reason to level Verdant Growth. With the MP5 being the same on all levels, there was no point in leveling it anymore because the damage is really low anyways. By giving it some more damage, we might actually see it be used over Nature's Grasp sometimes, right? So, especially for beginners, Sylvanas players who are not confident with the pull, it's gonna make sense to level Wisp, then Verdant Growth, and then Nature's Grasp, just so they have some reliable poke and CC that they can use often and actually have more impact themselves and not be so reliant on setting the team up. Wisps now get extra protections, starting with 5 extra protections, and it stays at 5 per rank, so instead of 5 you get 10, and instead of 25 you get 30. So that's a nice buff for both him and his teammates. And Nature's Grasp gets a cooldown reduction by 2 seconds per rank. So all in all, you get some decent buffs, and while Sylvanas still has the problem of being shut down if focused and being hard countered by Weakening Curse, I see this helping him a lot, and I see this making him a more viable support pick than he was before. We might see actually see high level play of him again, and that's interesting and exciting. So I'm fine with these buffs, even though it's quite a lot for one patch. Tyrion just gets an achievement, like a fix for an achievement. And to address this first, what I miss here are just at least slight nerfs to Nemesis, Ratatosker, Ragin, Ao Kuang. Probably forgot someone here, but Susano I think is not quite as crazy anymore as those characters, but they all are top tier, high performing gods that are frequently banned still, and they could definitely see some more nerfs, and there would be no harm in doing so. And I don't know why that's not happening. But oh well. We're talking about crazy things in terms of balance right now. Izanami, I will show you the cards first. Don't worry, or worry depending on your attitude towards this. She's not gonna have such huge boobs in game. She's actually more of that kind of corpse-like design that we were expecting, or most of us were expecting. So not as sexualized as she seems in this very pick. That's the recolor card, I think, which looks very weird, cheap, but oh well. I like the design. It actually reminds me a little bit of Mortal Kombat, so I really like that. And now let's talk about the kit, because this is crazy. The most interesting thing of the kit is actually not even written down in here, and it's so freaking crazy. So what she does is she throws out a sickle, which kind of acts like a boomerang, and it goes through all targets in front of her and then comes back. It deals 50% damage while going forward and while coming back. And that's just really strange, I think, to get used to. It's an interesting mechanic. The scary thing, which I think is like really worrisome, is the fact that it goes through minions. So you can hit the whole wave with your basics if you try. You can do this in jungle as well. And what's even more interesting in that regard is the basic attack bounces off walls. So if you're in the jungle and you hit a camp, the sickle will basically bounce back right away. I'm not sure if sickle's the right word in this regard, but whatever. It will bounce back right away and you can basic attack quicker again. So this goes on and on and on, and they come back really, really quick, and you should be able to clear really effectively, even though the highest employee said that her jungle isn't that good. We'll see about that. This is also especially scary if someone gets CC'd close to a wall. Think Ymir, Cabrakan, whatever, because they should bounce back relatively quickly and help you to hit more. Actually, I'm not sure how it works with Cabrakan's wall, but we'll see. So that's interesting and quite scary. But that's just the beginning. Then we have the passive. The closer Izanami gets to death, the more powerful she becomes. Izanami gains 4% physical penetration for each 15% of her health she's missing, up to a maximum of 20%. So you can get a maximum of 4 stacks on this. And that's going to be 16% penetration. Not quite as much as Hou Yi's mark offered you. But given that they just removed that from Hou Yi, it's still a interesting change there. And yeah, that's the passive. And there's another part of the passive which we'll talk about in the second ability. We have the first ability, Sickle Storm. For 6 seconds, Izanami throws her Karma Sickles even faster and more furiously. While active, they no longer return to her, but instead do 100% of her basic attack damage plus additional bonus damage. She may reactivate this ability to revert to normal basic attacks. So, this doesn't work like Shivalanka. This has an actual cooldown. And it basically turns her weird basic attacks into normal basic attacks. And gives her some extra damage. On PTS, or like in the highlight, it looked like she actually gets extra attack speed as well. Not quite sure if that's the case now. I can't really... like according to this description, she doesn't. But it looked like it very much. And I think the number changed. Maybe that's just in a first iteration. But either way, it's some kind of steroid that allows you to box better but not clear better. That's what it is. So nothing crazy there, but something she kind of needs. Then we have Spectral Projection. Izanami sends forth a demonic visage of herself to strike down her enemies, damaging and slowing all enemies in a line. If an enemy god is killed while slowed by this ability, future uses of the slow will be increased by 6% per kill, up to twice, for a maximum of 30%. So this is weird. It sounds like it goes through targets, but it didn't really look like it goes through guards, but it doesn't matter in the end. Just a minor thing. It definitely can be used to clear as well. However, it gets these stacks. It gets 2 stacks maximum, but they don't get removed, not even if you die. So you have these stacks that are, well, kind of awkward to get because you're a hunter. You usually kill your target with basic attacks, but, you know, if you can't close off on the basic attack, you're just going to use that ability, and then you get that extra stack for an extra slow, which is really snowbally, slightly awkward, interesting. I don't know. Really don't know how to feel about it. Interesting new mechanic, at least we'll see how it works out. Would be less skeptical about it if her whole kit wasn't like a little weird. Then we have Fade Away, and now shit gets absolutely freaking crazy. Izanami descended, I would say she descends, but whatever, descended into the underworld, becoming stealthed before leaping away from her current position. Firing a damaging ability or basic attack breaks her stealth. So this is an escape. This is a leap. I think, at least looks like one, but it goes underground, so it's like Hades or Scylla. However, when coming out afterwards, she is stealthed for 5 seconds. A hunter with stealth. That's pretty freaking brutal. I'm not quite sure how well as an enemy you can see her coming out of the ground because she's already stealthed and maybe that's still an animation or something. But a hunter appearing behind you is scary. A hunter being able to escape from you even through walls and then be stealthed is scary. And with how her kit is generally set up, this is very, very scary. And I don't know how to feel about it. It's definitely one of the best hunter escapes out there, and yeah, we just leave it at that. And then her ultimate is Dark Portal. Izanami summons a Dark Portal, which damages and silences all enemies in range. It is a huge radius, it's very hard to miss. The weird thing is that the description said something about 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds on the PTS version that we were shown. I don't think the duration is actually that long. It did look like half as long as that, but we'll see. Either way, it cleans up the kit a little bit because it's a more simple ability, more straightforward. Imagine a little bit like Kronos. It has like a slight wind-up, but it's not very long. It's not that easy to dodge. So, yeah, and if you're in the silence, I think even if you're like trying to dash out and you get silenced in that moment, you'll still get silenced and not get out. So, you gotta be very wary of that as well. And I would say it's still potent ultimate. It's not the craziest ultimate. It's not like a Ram Snipe level thing, but it's still strong. It has pretty good scalings, I think. So overall, I'm pretty concerned for how she will play out, because I feel like she's according to Iris, she's a late game hunter, but I feel like her early is also not very weak to justify that. She has an escape, and a hunter with escape is always strong. She does not have CC immunity, but she has a stealth in return. She's got a steroid, which is always good for a late game hunter. And then she's got this weirdest 2, which is also slow, which is also strong for a hunter, right? So, yeah, she doesn't have hard CC. Well, silence, but that's it. So, not quite the hard CC that some other hunters bring, like no stun or anything. But overall, I would say she's in a pretty solid spot. We'll have to see her numbers to see if it actually works out that way. But that should give you a decent insight. With that, we are concluding these patch notes. Thank you guys for watching. Duke Sloth out.